Welcome, everybody, to today's podcast, Truth Unfiltered. We're going to go into some political stuff today, see what's going on, check the news. And again, thank you for tuning in. We're going to give people a second to hop on. They're sharing the broadcast right now. We do appreciate when you do the same because it helps us reach people. You'd be surprised how many people watch us, some of them only later. But it's... even live, you'd be surprised how many people watch it. Of course, it's on different platforms, so it's not only on one platform. So again, thank you for tuning in, and we're gonna talk about different things. We might get to some of the Russia stuff, possibly Russia-Ukraine stuff with the negotiations. I want to place more emphasis on the very recent things that's been happening. I think Russia has been a long-coming thing. Ukraine's been a long-coming thing. So I'm not going to chat about it too much because it's like, I don't think there's a whole lot I can reveal on it that has not been revealed. So not that I think it's unimportant. I think it's very important, but there's just some recent things that I think is very, very telling of what's going on. So globally, and it does reflect some of the stuff in the U.S. as well. So I think, some of the Islam stuff that we need to look at, obviously, with all these things. So again, happy Thanksgiving, everybody, and thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it, and we're grateful that you're tuning in. So share this broadcast. So there's some videos we're going to talk about. Obviously, the event just in the last couple of days with the shooting of the two National Guards, one unfortunately passed, the lady that passed, and all our condolences to the family. That should not have happened at all. And then the young man that's still in critical condition, and so we'll talk about that. And there's a Kash Patel video that I want to bring up. Obviously, there's some evidence with FBI. Head of FBI, Kash Patel, and that I think is really interesting as well. And so we can start on that probably. So Brooke will roll out for us the very first video here in a few, maybe a minute or two, and we can get going. We can get going on some stuff. So it's. There's some things going on, so I think, start first on, Brooke, if you can play the one first on, just on the shooting. There's one particularly on that, just a news broadcast, just so we can get going on the whole thing. And then after that, we can go to Kash Patel. I'll just drop one or two comments. Hi, Leslie. Hi, baby. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for sharing it.
And that breaking news update as we come on the air at 11 o'clock tonight. One of the National Guardsmen shot in an ambush in D.C. has died. President Trump saying 20-year-old Sarah Beckstrom has passed away from her injuries. Right now, the other Guardsman, 24-year-old Andrew Wolf, is still in critical condition tonight. Beckstrom and Wolf, the two National Guard troops who were shot in D.C. yesterday. We have just learned also both of their orders in Washington had been set to expire.
Okay, whatever. Those minor details I think is largely unimportant. I don't know why all these news channels are always focusing on unimportant, minor details without evidence. I think what is more important is the evidence of what's really going on there. And it's why, ask yourself this, why around Thanksgiving does it happen? Why, is it a coincidence? It can't be a coincidence. Why was Charlie Kirk shot on, the 9/11 anniversary or around the 9/11 anniversary? Ask yourself those questions. What is behind it all? I get it. The investigation on Charlie was different. They didn't find anything linked to it. He was according to the FBI, he was standing alone. Okay, fine, whatever. But with this, Islam is, at this point, everybody's like, Russia's a threat, everybody's a threat, this is a threat, that's a threat. I don't think so. I think the biggest threat for the West right now at large is the radical part of the Middle East. Not the Middle East at large, but the radical part of the Middle East. That is what is the threat to the West in general. And because the West has been asleep, we're paying a price for it. And hello, Annalise, thank you for tuning in. So, Brooke, if you can roll that video of Kash Patel, thank you.
There is confirmation now that the subject had a relationship in Afghanistan with partner forces. We are fully investigating that aspect of his background as well, to include any known associates that are either overseas or here in the United States of America.
Well, yeah, that is, did you play the whole thing? Okay. So, yeah, the fact that he's saying that, there's a link to, terrorist groups and they're investigating it and everything is very telling. I mean, it's obviously, the guys from a radical part of the Middle East, so everybody kind of expected that. And if you didn't, you're definitely woke. I can't help you on that, so we'll just pray for you. But, I mean, everybody expected that to be, some radical Muslim thing. So obviously, the link that was found there is evidence of it. And, we we apologize. Well, we don't apologize, but we send our condolences to the families. The one guy is still in critical condition, so we keep praying for him. But this is a global problem, and it's a global problem. And all the accusations that Trump's been making about they should have never been let in the country. Everybody knew it. Everybody knew it when the Biden administration pulled the people out of Afghanistan. That was even the Democrats accused him for the way it was handled. So it's accurate. It shouldn't have been handled that way. Now we're sitting with laws in the U.S. where people cannot deport these people because there's laws in place that stops them from going back. I believe some radical things needs to happen. I know what's going to happen. I know it's going to happen. So where the laws are reversed, people are being sent back. Trump's taking some radical steps. So I think, we're going to see some positive change here in, I'm guessing, the next 6 months, maybe the next year. And obviously there will be a process with lawmaking on that. So let's see what happens on that. Anyways, for those of you watching, again, thank you for tuning in. Comment where you're watching from, what your name is. And just let us know where you're watching from. So we're, I know that Trump was he made a pretty bold statement. I think it was this morning. I'm going to see if I can pull it up. And we'll put it on there. But he made a pretty bold statement about taking very radical steps. And I'm going to pull it up here in a second. Taking very, very radical steps. It was actually a happy Thanksgiving message, but it didn't sound happy at all, and understandably so. But there'll be a good push towards the right direction after this. I know it's going to happen. Let me see if I can find it. Here it is. Brooke, just scroll down and throw this on the screen. even if it's in a minute or two. Let me see if I can. Hang on one second. Yep, if you can throw that on there, find it, throw it on for me, that'd be great. Thank you. Good morning, Kim. Thank you for tuning in. I don't know where she, oh, there's Kim. I see. Good morning, Kim. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, so it's very telling. You know, one of the signs with Trump is always he makes a very bold and sometimes crass, or I don't know what's the correct way of putting it other than that, but and I'm not saying it in a negative sense at all. I actually think it's positive. He makes a very, very strong statement, and then he backs off and doesn't say anything for a long time, and it's like, did he forget about it? And then 9 months later, he either bombs something or send in ICE or something to that effect. So I'm you know, that's kind of what I'm expecting to happen with this whole illegal immigrant thing and reversing the laws in regards to not deporting illegals. He's already doing that with Somalians. And there's some global stuff going on that there isn't sufficient evidence for yet, but that I want to bring to light as well on this subject. So, all right, Brooke, go to the, if you can pull that up and throw it on there. And then, sorry, I should have had her put it on the list, but yeah, no problem. She's just pulling it up, and then we'll go to the next video after that. So, you know, yeah. It says a very happy Thanksgiving. Can you make it a little bigger? I can't quite. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can get into it here. Hold on a second. Hold on, I'll pull it up on this, don't worry. It says a very happy Thanksgiving solution to all of our great American citizens and patriots who have been so nice in allowing our country to be divided, disrupted, carved, murdered, beaten, mugged, and laughed at, along with certain other foolish countries throughout the world. Now, pay attention to his wording, okay? It's actually going to tie in with some of the stuff we're going to watch. It says, throughout the world, for being politically correct. So he says certain foolish countries. So pay attention to, or other foolish countries throughout the world for being politically correct and just plain stupid when it comes to immigration. Pay attention to what he's saying, because he's not saying it for no reason. The official United States foreign population stands at 53 million people. That's the census, official census, most of which are on welfare from failed nations or from prisons, mental institutions, gangs, or drug cartels. They and their children are supported, okay, through massive payments from patriotic American citizens who, because of their beautiful hearts, do not want to openly complain or cause trouble in any way, shape, or form. Okay. So, then they say, then he said, and they put up with what has happened to our country, but it's eating them alive to do so. Right. So it's obvious that he's Trump is going after this whole woke thing and some of the foolish things that's going on. Why is he bringing in some of the countries? Why does he keep mentioning it? You'll hear it in his speeches. You'll hear it when he makes comments on social media. He makes an announcement on social media. When he makes comments, when he has interviews, he'll bring it up continually in different ways and platforms. He'd be saying it. And so there's a reason for it. There's a reason, right? So, and I believe there's some major shifts going to happen pretty soon, because there's things that's been happening that people are totally unaware of. Go to the next video. Thanks, bro. What's the next one? No. Go to Trump's next Facebook post. There's another Facebook post on South Africa and the G20 thing. Yeah. No. Oh yeah, that's on this. Okay, leave it on that one. It says, "Dear Facebook family, today I'm asking." Yeah, that's breaking news. So obviously that's not necessarily Trump, but he says, it says, "Dear Facebook family, today I'm asking each one of you to keep a young woman and her grieving family in prayers. National Guard member Sarah Beckstrom has left this world after a tragic incident in D.C. Her father shared with the New York Times that she could not survive. And he was holding her hand in her final moments, giving her all the love a parent could give." Just imagine that, a father holding his daughter's hand, knowing he is saying goodbye forever. The pain, the strength, the heartbreaking this family is living through, it is more than a parent should ever face. Let us come together and pray for them. And then it says, "Heavenly Father, please wrap Sarah and their entire family in your comfort. Hold this father close as he carries the weight of losing his little girl. Fill their hearts with peace and give them strength in this unbearable time. Receive Sarah gently into your loving care and stand beside this family or her family as they walk through a sorrow no words can describe. Amen. Please keep this family in your prayers tonight." All right, so this is just a random news article, but this is what's just happened. And so that's the effects of Islam when we become woke and we let everybody in. All right, so forgive me, Europe is paying a worse price than we are at this point, and they are not waking up, but so are some other countries, including South Africa, which we will go to in a minute. But the thing is, South Africa has been that way for a long time. So, but anyway, go to there's another post. Yes, this is what I wanted to get to. So, I'm going to focus a little bit on this, not so much only because it's, not necessarily because it's, where I come from, it's my home country, but because there is some stuff going on that I believe is tied in with everything that's happening right now. One of the major reasons that why and people think it's only the United States. People need to wake up. So first of all, you read this and you're like, oh, it's only Trump. It's not only Trump. The head of state of Belgium, the Netherlands, and many of the Western European countries have been very vocal, especially Belgium, but many of the Western European countries. Hungary is one that is extremely vocal. Hungary and even Poland has said some stuff about it. It's not just Trump. It's not just Trump. So it's only Trump. It's only Trump. It's not true. What Trump is saying here is not just, especially on the genocide on the Afrikaner people and white people in general in South Africa. It's not just Trump. It's just Trump. It's fake news. It's just Trump. It's not just Trump. Even South Africans believe it. Go watch what the head of state of Belgium and many of the Western European countries saying. Go and see what Belgium is saying. Forgive me, not Belgium. Hungary is saying about it. Hungary is very, very vocal about it. Okay, it's not just the United States. Okay, every country that's kind of center, in the middle of the line or center right. I'm not talking about right wing, either in the middle or center right. They all have spoken out about it. It's only the woke countries or those that are woke that are head of state in whichever country they might be that hasn't said anything or like, it's only Trump. It's not just Trump. I'm going to read what he says. He says, President Trump, the United States did not attend the G20 in South Africa. That's true. Because the South African government refuses to acknowledge or address the horrific human rights abuses endured by Afrikaners and other descendants of Dutch, French, and German settlers. That's true. And I'll get to that at the end of reading this post. He says, to put it more bluntly, they are killing white people and randomly allowing their farms to be taken from them. perhaps worst of all, the soon to be out of business New York Times and the fake news media won't issue a word against this genocide. That's also true. That's why all the liars and pretenders of the radical left media are going out of business. At the conclusion of the G20, South Africa refused to hand off the G20 presidency to a senior representative from our US embassy who attended the closing ceremony. Therefore, at my direction, South Africa will not be receiving an invitation to the 2026 G20, which will be hosted in the great city of Miami, Florida next year. South Africa has demonstrated to the world they are not a country worthy of membership anywhere, and we are going to stop all payment and subsidies to them effectively, immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Okay, so I was kind of under the impression that those subsidies have altogether stopped. So somehow there were still some subsidies, which that only amplifies my point of view or my, some statements I've made in the past on the subject, which is there is going to be some real consequences, especially for the political, the political heads of state and the ANC parties, or the ANC party, and some of the other parties involved as well. You can already see a decline there, and because there is no more money, so they lived off of corruption. Everybody knew it. It's not any news. But the reason why I'm bringing this in is because there are some things happening, and it's all tied in with Islam. I'm going to show it to you in a second. It's all tied with Islam. And I'm going to show it to you, and Trump doesn't speak about it. So the U.S. and Trump himself doesn't speak about everything. Now, one of the things about South Africa is, let me just give you a background here for a second. So for the last almost 10 years, but especially the last 5 years, there's been some things happening. For one, recently, there has been the ICJ case, which is South Africa, that has taken Israel to the Human Rights Violation Court. And that was, for accusing Israel of genociding the Palestinians, okay? Then it came out that the South African government, or the ANC party, not the government, but the party, has received money from Iran, who has sponsored the Hamas and so on and so forth. So there's direct ties with the ANC party, which is kind of the ruling party. It's a different setup than in the United States, so it's not, the votes works a little different. But anyways, and so there's a direct tie between the ANC party, which is the majority party at this point, even though it's radically changing right now, I believe, is, and so direct ties, okay? So they were funded by Iran, and that was, came on the news. Most South Africans know it now, and so that's come out. Everybody suspected it from the beginning. There's other things that's happened. There's a number of times when there was planes and boats that was unannounced landing and taking off in the Western Cape area of South Africa, where military weapons went out to Russia, okay? And so there's certain alliances with countries that wasn't, and obviously these weapons has gone to be used in war against Ukraine and stuff like that. So obviously South Africa has sent military weapons there, and nobody kind of knew how it happened, and everybody acts stupid all the time, and I don't know how this happened. There's an investigation, but the investigation never goes anywhere. So everybody knows that the South African, not necessarily everybody that's in government, but at least the ANC party, EFF, the MK, and so on, they operate like a bunch of mobsters. So there's been things like that going on for a long time. So there's this alliance with Islam, especially, Iran especially, with the ANC party in South Africa. And there's some of the things that I want to show you that's happening that people are talking about, and it's not coming on the news. But there's, Brooke, if you can Which is the next video? Okay, what is the one on Trump fires back?
Hey, folks. Well, it's happened.
Yeah, okay, so just pause this for 1 second. This guy, Colonel Wyatt, he used to work for the U.S. military intelligence. Let me go back and I'll tell you exactly who he worked for and when. This is Colonel Chris Wyatt. You can find him on YouTube. Okay, he used to work for. He was a senior military advisor to the U.S. mission to African Union and director of African Studies at the U.S. Army College. Okay, he's also been. He was also a German spy working undercover in British Army. No, forgive me. He was. I've got the wrong stuff here. Hang on 1 second. Hang on. Anyway, he worked for the U.S. intelligence. All right, so he's worked for different departments within the U.S. government at different times. He's not working for them anymore. The point of it is he has a. Hey Gary, thank you for tuning in. He has a great understanding of what's going on. So I want to watch 2 videos of his, and then we're going on to the next thing. Okay, Brooke, roll it.
It's happened. Here's the first salvo. All the months of belly aching and lying from officials in South African media about how America is attacking South Africa, how America is going after South Africa. The only thing America's done is when South Africa violated the norms of international law by passing an unconstitutional act, the Expropriation Without Compensation Act, thereby giving the government at the local, the provincial and state level, national level, to confiscate people's lands on a whim and political purposes, Donald Trump suspended all foreign aid to South Africa, which is about $500 million a year. In a good year, $400 million most years. That's the only action he's taken other than PNG, the ambassador. Recently, Naledi Pandor, not a member of the government, former foreign minister, had her visa revoked, but that's because of her actions, nothing to do with what South Africa's been doing as a government. So Donald Trump was just posted on Truth Social that South Africa, because of its actions, is a country unworthy to belong to any membership in any group, and that they will not be invited to the 2026 Leaders Summit in Miami. Wow. Okay. All the belly aching. Now you got something to complain about. I told you the insults, calling Trump a white supremacist, your ambassador, your foreign minister on the eve of this thing, Ramaphosa chuckling and laughing about Donald Trump. Dim the lights, and along with Dean McPherson, we saw that, and then recently during the G20 summit, laughing about bad things are happening, ha 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 ha. Yeah, and then the insult, America insulting our diplomatic official there, calling him a junior official, and then demanding that they come collect the thing, refusing to hand it over after the summit was over. I said, look, be careful. There's going to be a world of hurt coming, and it started now. He said we're not going to give any subsidies, any money to South Africa, but we've already stopped that, so I'm not really sure what that means tangibly. But the bottom line here, folks, is Donald Trump has finally taken some action against South Africa. It's mild action, but no doubt the media in South Africa will lose their minds. And I've cautioned the ANC. I asked them. I all but pled with them. I know they watch the videos. I all but pled with them not to be insulting. When you insult Trump, he comes back at you. Trump has been holding his fire about this since January. He's never called a single South African official out, despite the fact that Lamola and Fikile Mbalula and Cyril Ramaphosa and Crispin Piri and Vincent Magwenya among others, have all called him all sorts of names or laughed at him and tried to mock him as the President of the United States. But South Africans actually had the umbrage to complain, of course, these are black supremacists, white, tiny, leftist liberals, complain that the United States insulted President Ramaphosa when, of course, the White House press secretary, Carolyn Levitt, said that Ramaphosa was running his mouth. Well, yeah, he was. Maybe a little bit impolite on her part, but I mean, after all, you're laughing and mocking the president, and your foreign minister's calling him a white supremacist on CNN. I don't think you have any basis to complain. Donald Trump has fired the first round. Let's see what happens next.
All right, so somebody asked on the feed, what is he called? Who is he? Colonel Chris Wyatt. So, you know, Chris obviously is his first name. Wyatt is spelled W-Y-A-T-T. You can see him as a younger version of himself in a uniform standing as his profile picture, and you can find him on YouTube. So he's got 115,000 subscribers. He's not, in some of his videos, he criticizes some of the stuff with Trump. He's a conservative, but he does criticize some of the stuff, not in a demeaning way, but he's just, trying to bring some center to things. And he's been speaking out about the stuff going on. In fact, he has been involved, Chris Wyatt is involved with, Colonel Chris Wyatt is involved with the refugees coming over from South Africa to the United States. So there's some, messaging groups and stuff that he's on those groups. So he's involved with it, and so he's right in the middle of it. I don't know exactly how he works for the U.S. right now, but somehow he does for some department. I'm not sure. I haven't actually checked it out. So sorry for, being unclear on that. But yeah, he used to work for U.S. intelligence, Army intelligence. So he doesn't work for intelligence anymore. But go to the next video of him. Thank you, Brooke.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I begin to wonder about something here. Donald Trump is making very bold statements about the government and involvement, or at least ignoring what's happening in South Africa and attacking racial minorities. And the South African government keeps pleading ignorance. Now, for the longest time, I've said that, Trump is prone to hyperbole, because he is. I've also said that Trump is saying things that are a bit hyperbolic, because he is. But you can't deny that there's 145 race-based laws intended to punish the minority, particularly the 60% who weren't even born during apartheid, born afterwards, so lived only under the ANC. But at some point, you have to begin to wonder, what does the U.S. intelligence community have? Is there something deeper going on here? Look, I don't believe in conspiracy theories, and I'm not claiming there is one, but this is going way out on a limb here, making statements that the president has made today, posting on Truth Social. Go check out his Truth Social post. It's very, very, very strong. He's going to punish South Africa for its behavior and its insults and mocking the president. I presume that's what drove him to it, but that's what's basically coming here now. And he says that South Africa is not welcome at the G26, the 2026 G20 Leaders Summit in Miami. He says, in fact, South Africa has no business in any international grouping because of their lawlessness. Yeah, pretty strong message. So you have to wonder, what does the U.S. intelligence community have that they're briefing the president on? Now, as somebody who was in the intelligence community and was the analyst that covered South Africa for a period of years, I can tell you that I had no such information at that time, but that's 20 years ago. So who knows what the intelligence community has today? What I've stuck to all along is the fact that the government is passing laws that racially discriminate, and it harms all South Africans, black, white, and brown, because it's stupid. And it discourages business, it discourages investment. And I've said things like that, but I've never made any claim that the government is behind these killings that are taking place on farms. What I have reported accurately is the government and the police hide the statistics. They falsely report things, falsely claim that farm attacks, kidnappings, tortures, murders, attempted murder are just, house robberies. We have the evidence for that. We have the receipts for that. And that's what I've talked about. But now Trump is, you have to wonder, what does Trump know? He's got 19 intelligence agencies at the national level alone, with the most sophisticated intelligence infrastructure on the planet. Maybe President Trump knows a lot more than you or I do. I don't know. What do you think? Feel free to give me your thoughts. Unless you're a racist, hate wanker, or a bigot, then just piss off in a sec. But if you got legitimate comments to put in here, I'm happy to listen to them. All right, folks, Trump fires with both barrels at South Africa's politicians. What comes next? It's going to get bumpy from here on out.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot that he said in there. Everything that Colonel Wyatt said in there is 100% accurate. So, you know, people's like, well, is it true? How, to what degree is it true? All that kind of stuff. I'm not going to go into detail into that because, one, we only got 20 minutes left. But he pretty much covered everything. So if you listen carefully, re-listen to what he said, everything he said is accurate, 100%. So, you know, it's 100% accurate. So, yeah. So I can't say much more than that on this subject, other than what he's already said. He speaks pretty fast, and he doesn't take a lot of time explaining it, so it's probably a lot of people will miss what he said. That's why I keep saying, you know, if you want to know more, watch what he's saying in it. And I can explain it maybe on a different podcast, but right now, unfortunately, that's just where we are. So yeah, it's there's just, you know, one of the things about the whole thing. So I explained the Palestinian thing with the alliance with the ANC government in South Africa, or the ANC party. Let me rephrase: the ANC party, especially with not Palestine, but by Hamas and the Iranians who fund Hamas. And obviously the evidence of that has come out, and everybody in South Africa knows that. That's no secret. Of course, the U.S. has known that because of what Colonel Wyatt has just said. I mean, the U.S. has, you know, the best intelligence sources in the world. They'll know this before anybody else knows it. Before the media hits it, they already know it, right? And so, Brooke, if you can play the next video about that plane that recently landed in South Africa with the Palestinians. Thanks. Yeah.
South Africa says it's investigating the circumstances behind the arrival of 153 Palestinians from Gaza who arrived in the country on a charter flight from Israel. The group was initially denied entry because of a lack of travel documents, but they were allowed in after intervention from President Cyril Ramaphosa. 23 later flying on to other destinations.
After 12 hours on the tarmac, these Palestinians given the all-clear to disembark at Johannesburg's OR Tambo Airport. Without proper documentation, including departure stamps from Israel, the group was in limbo. Reports in Israeli media said the group left Gaza on Wednesday morning via the Kerem Shalom crossing with Israel, following vetting by the Israeli military, and were taken by bus to an Israeli airport and put on a charter flight.
These are people from Gaza who somehow mysteriously were put on a plane that passed by Nairobi. And it does seem like they were being, flushed out. We will get the details later.
Israel hasn't responded to this claim. One pastor meeting with passengers during their ordeal.
This is where they flew to. This is where they came to seek hope. This is where they've seen humanity. And yet we've left them on the tarmac all day. Little babies, little children. Their hair was stuck to their head as the sweat was pouring down. I got into that plane. It was like a sauna.
South Africa has been a long-time supporter of Palestinian statehood.
These are people from a strife-torn, a war-torn country. And out of compassion, out of empathy, we must receive them.
A local charity is providing accommodation for the passengers who said they arrived with only the clothes they were wearing.
We believe that it's a land of peace, and it's a land of laws, and it's a land of justice.
It's also emerged another plane carrying more than 170 Palestinians landed last month without issue. Palestinian diplomats in South Africa say travel for both groups was arranged by, quote, an unregistered and misleading group that exploited the tragic humanitarian conditions in Gaza. Those conditions only worsening as Palestinians try to winter-proof their makeshift shelters. Heavy rain makes attempts futile. A new season bringing fresh challenges.
So, first of all, 2 planes landed already that we know of, for sure. And you're like, I don't know how they got here. You can't, let me explain something. The airport in Johannesburg, which is where they would have landed, or any of the airports for that matter, You can't get a plane in without having an arrangement with the airport. I mean, we're talking big international airports. So, we're investigating it. We don't know how this happened. Bullshit. This is all bullshit. He's been a liar from the beginning. He's always been a liar. Everybody knows it. It's a bullshit story. He knows exactly, President Ramaphosa knows exactly how that plane landed there. It couldn't have entered without permission. It is impossible. It can't happen. So I'll just say that and leave it at that, but it's all BS. We all know it. Why are they flying? Now, Brooke, if you can roll the video, and this guy that's apparently a pastor, I want to call he's BS too, because you know, humanitarian things for people from Gaza, all this kind of thing. It's like, I'm telling you right now, it's a paid deal, and I'm going to go further with this. It's a paid deal. They've been getting money from Hamas and from Iran. The ANC government has. So I believe what Colonel Wyatt was saying was, and he knows about all this stuff. He's totally aware of all this. Colonel Wyatt knows all this stuff. There is a lot more behind the scenes, than we know of. I would not be surprised if the ANC government is helping Iran with nuclear weapons. I would not be, in some way, shape, or form. I would not be surprised. I'm not saying that is happening for sure, but there is something military-wise that the ANC government is involved with Iran. And Colonel Wyatt is onto something. Obviously, there's no evidence for this at this point, but I'm telling you, that's what's going on right now. And the U.S. is, there's, let me repaint the picture. South Africa is not one of the, we're not talking Russia, India, China. It's a small economy. It's the biggest economy in Africa, but it's a small economy compared to the major countries in the world. Very small. It's smaller than most of any of the European countries in terms of economic power. So Trump's not going to pay attention to a minor country in the world unless something major is behind it. So there's a particular picture. If you can play that last video, Brooke, where he's standing in his green overalls, just play that short version. Hang on a second. I'm gonna throw this on there. Before you do that, I'm going to put another one on. It's the same one, but it gives us a picture. So leave that last one I put on there. Throw this one on. If you can download and play the last one I put on there, because it shows you a picture of what those Palestinians are dressed as. Listen, let me just give a background. They've paid off some white folks just recently, 44 of them. Most of them are very left-wing, okay, to basically make a statement and say the whole thing about Afrikaners being murdered is fake news. 95% of the Afrikaner people despise these people. They have despised these people for a long time. So they were paid off. The evidence has been found that they've been paid off recently, and so that's come on the news and stuff as well. Just play that last video for me. Thank you. The one where he's standing in his green overalls, and there's a photo. It's kind of a split video. There's a photo.
Yesterday we had a play.
Yeah, just pause it for a second. Just pause it. I want you to pay attention to what those Palestinians are dressed like. Does that look like somebody that has nothing left? They've got no clothes, they've got nothing. And you're like, oh, they've been given something by... No, they haven't. It's all BS. Just look what those people are dressed as. I call BS on the whole thing. All right, play the video.
Yesterday we had a plane of 160... we're carrying 160 Palestinians landing at OR Tambo. And these are people from Gaza who somehow mysteriously were put on a plane that passed by Nairobi and came
Just stop
here.
it. Mysteriously.
And,
okay, just thank you. Mysteriously. I mean, it's ridiculous. Carry on. It's BS.
Hearing about it from my Minister of Home Affairs, wanting to know what do we do now. And I said, we cannot turn them back. Even though they do not have the necessary documents and papers, These are people from a strife-torn, a war-torn country. And out of compassion, out of empathy, we must receive them. Yesterday, we had a plane of 160, we're carrying 160 Palestinians landing at OR Tambo. And these are people from Gaza who somehow mysteriously were put on a plane that passed.
Okay, so just the way he strings these sentences together, to me, is already very telling of the fact that it's all bullshit. Right? So there's one video I want to play here of, and most people watching this, get, that most people watching this would be like, oh, this is terrible, this is terrible. I'm telling you, it's a good thing, because what's happening is that the U.S. is getting involved. And I've said it before when they did the previous podcast on Friday, when the stuff went down in Zimbabwe and they took all the land, Zimbabwe's economy plummeted. It's not recovering. By the way, Trump has forced the Zimbabwean government, he's forced the World Bank, saying if the Zimbabwean government doesn't repay the farmers for the injustice that's been done, they cannot get money from the World Bank. Guess what's happened? They're busy repaying the majority of the farmers whose land has been taken in Zimbabwe. Yeah, it's a new party now, and there's some changes and everything. He's like, I don't care. They need to be repaid. So Trump's not fooling around. When that all went down in Zimbabwe, guess what? Zimbabwe used to be a British colony. Britain just went, sorry. They didn't even fly their own people out of there. It's disgusting. So to me, it's like, that's why I can't stand all the stuff with Great Britain. They're the most cowardice bunch of people in terms of government authority there is on the face of the planet. I can't stand them. But, I know the U.S. has an alliance with Britain and everything, but, they're the most cowardice bunch there is. Anyways, so the reason I'm bringing this up is because Trump is getting involved. Never has anybody gotten involved with any of this stuff. This stuff has been going on. It's been going on. But I'm telling you, there is some things about to go down that is going to shake up, stuff. And this is not only going to apply to South Africa, it's applying for whole continents, whole regions. Watch, you'll see. I believe before the end of Trump's presidency, he's going to take some serious action on this thing. I don't have any evidence for when exactly and how exactly, but you'll watch and see. Right? So, Brooke, there's another one that I did where there was a woman, I don't know even whose channel it is. It's the only one I could find on this. And this is illegal Somalians. Now, most of these Somalians are Muslim too. So, Somalians are majority Muslim. So, again, why from a particularly Muslim country? They come in illegally. Actually, the head of the police in South Africa, who's a good guy, he's actually reported on some of the criminal activities of the ANC party and some of the stuff going on in government. He's made a report on this too. I couldn't find the video that I was looking for, so I just took this just to show people, people's been speaking about this. Illegals coming in from Somalia. It's been happening for a long time, but watch this video. That's into South Africa. Watch the video.
Come back to my channel. If you have not subscribed to this channel, please do wait to subscribe and give a thumbs up to this channel, please, so that I will bring more update on what is happening in South Africa. Especially this period that illegal foreigners are tripping into the South Africa as if that is where their life depends, that is where their destiny depends. They are coming the way South Africa immigration and say we don't want undocumented in.
Nobody can understand this woman. I can barely understand her. She's clearly Nigerian or West African from somewhere. So she's doing a good job, but her accent, most people won't understand her accent. So I'm not saying it against the woman, I'm just saying. So this has been happening as well. So there's a strong alliance there, and Trump is having at it with these people that are woke. Remember when I had you guys pay attention in the beginning of this podcast to what Trump is saying about these woke countries? Why did he make, he's referencing something that's happening to the U.S. with these two killings of the national guard, well, attempted killings, the one's alive and we keep praying for him, but, attempted killings on national guards with these, what's happening and then he turns it on these countries. Iran is, you cannot trust radical Muslim agenda. You cannot trust them. And Iran is ticked off. And they're doing whatever they can. And we've known that they were involved with the South African, not the South African government at large, but the ANC party in particular. So I wanted to show you this. Right, Brooke, I think in closing, we'll watch this one video. This is what I'm most excited about. And this guy used to work for Mike Murdoch, who started Mike Murdoch is the guy that originally started Fox News way back in the day. He worked for Mike Murdoch, this guy. Rob Hersov. He's born, he's British, grew up in South Africa. He's a South African citizen. He lived in the United States for a long time. Very pro the United States. Very pro the United States. He's a very wealthy businessman, internationally speaking, not just in South African terms, but in international terms, even in US terms. And so he recently moved back to South Africa. He started a channel called Truth Social, kind of, in a way, I would guess, copying, Trump's Truth Social. Hold on a second. Let me see what that channel of his is called. Anyway, we'll play it in a second. But so kind of copying that, and so he's just exposing everything on there because of the media, and of course we have a lot of restrictions there as well with media and stuff like that. So he's just pulling it out of there. So he's doing a good job in that. And he's funding it all himself. So right, let's play this video in closing on what's happening in South Africa. But anyway, I thought I'd just throw it on there.
South Africa, the hour has come. The show's over and the free passes are gone. South Africa's ruling class, the ANC looters in suits, the EFF racist messiahs in red berets, and the MK consultants of decay have sung their last chorus of struggle songs. And now the spotlight shifts, not to applause, but to judgment. The USA is about to strike the local gangsters, local South African gangsters, not with bullets, with bans, not with boots, with bank freezes, and not with speeches, with isolation and punishments, so severe it silences even the most arrogant microphone. HR 2633, the guillotine in a business suit. The United States-South Africa Bilateral Relations Review Act is no empty threat. It is a surgical tool of economic execution, wrapped in legality, but soaked in finality. And it's already being sharpened by Washington's finest. Ramaphosa knows it. Mashatile feels it. Malema pretends to laugh through it. Shivambu, Google escapes roots. Imbalula, Fikile's memes have dried up. Bekiteli is looking nervously at prison overalls. And the cadres at Luthuli House, once smug with loans from Iran and Russian vodka, are starting to realize no BRICS country will stop a dollar landslide. The US isn't planning to act, it's poised to act. And when Trump strikes, America will rip through ANC bank accounts, border entries, foreign assets, diplomatic protections, and every backdoor built by the ANC's corruption architects. The illusion is dead. The execution is personal. This isn't about policy, it's about punishment. The ANC has violated every principle the post-apartheid dream claimed to stand for, and now the world is turning on them, not because it suddenly grew a conscience, but because chaos is contagious. And no sane economy wants South Africa's virus in their bloodstream. For 31 years, these ANC men fed off slogans while draining the state. They preached unity while sharpening knives behind tribal lines, and they danced on the ruins of Rhodesia while mocking those who warned them. You're next.
All right, I'm not going to watch it, and we're not going to watch the whole thing. I just wanted to show you what he's saying. He's very well informed internationally. He's a wealthy businessman. He started this, not Truth Report, but not Truth Social, but Truth Report. So again, kind of copying what Trump's done with his Truth Social. And the same kind of motive with this channel, and he's effective with it. And I applaud him for doing so. So he's not ill-informed about anything. And yeah, Islam, you know, the U.S., people in the United States needs to wake up about Islam. Islam is a problem. It's a huge, huge, huge problem. Trump's awake. Most of the conservatives are awake. Get them out of the country. If you can get them out, kick them out the country. People's like, yeah, but you can't reverse that now. That complicates a lot of things. It'll be a lot more complicated keeping them in than kicking them out. A lot more. People's like, yeah, but, you know, listen, Islam is a whole nother ball of wax. If there is any, there needs to be investigations done, and these people need to be kicked out of the country. Anyway, that's my stance. I believe that's what Trump is attempting to do. So for those of you that believe differently, you've been brainwashed by watching the wrong stuff. So you need to get off all these fake news channels and get what's, you know, get on stuff that's really happening globally, right? So I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing. And then again, in closing, I'll just say this. I know the major thing, right? One of the major things right now is, of course, Russia and Ukraine. I'm not going to comment on it right now because there, you know, everybody's like, you know, is this happening? Is it not happening? You know, which way is this going? It seems like there's a peace deal that's brewing, and it seems like it's being finalized. But, you know, it's been long coming. So we can, you know, there's just, here's the thing about why I also don't want to comment on it right now. There's a lot more meat to it than people realize. And so it's kind of one of those things where I need to go on it for at least an hour and a half because, you know, people either focus only on the Ukraine side or only on the Russia side. And we all know that there's been lots of corruption in the Ukraine. And, you know, is Putin 100% innocent? Well, nobody's 100% innocent in any war. But, you know, at least if some form of peace can be achieved, that would be great. But we'll see what happens with this. I hope they end the war one way or the other. Somebody's not going to be happy. It's usually the way it is. But I'm not going to comment any further on that. So anyway, thank you for tuning in. I hope this was informative and it educated you on a few things. We love you. See you next time.